Hi, I'm Annie.
And I'm Andrea, and we are the co-owners of 108 Meditate, which is a spirituality and wellness company that offers products and practices, events, and certifications. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about energy work.
So the technical definition for energy work is a holistic and spiritual practice that involves the conscious manipulation, channeling, and balancing of subtle energy within the body, mind, or aura. So this practice is based on the belief that there is a vital life force or energy that flows through all living things, influencing physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Energy work often incorporates various techniques such as sound healing, meditation, breathwork, Reiki, all of which Andrea and I do and offer up for other people as well. Mm-hmm. There's other modalities, but the whole idea of energy work is that it's aiming to promote balance, healing, and alignment within the individual or their energetic field.
Yeah, so technical terms, but what does that mean to the rest of us? Like, what does energy really mean? And that's kind of what we're going to dig into today. Annie and I both started around similar times in this world of energy healing, mm-hmm. and we had very different but also similar experiences. And I think sharing our stories is what's going to be the most meaningful and impactful. So that's what we want to do today. Just what energy healing meant for us personally and why we're sharing it with other people now.
Absolutely.
So let's start by asking a few questions. I'm going to interview you, Annie.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So what initially drew you to explore the world of energy healing? And then how did you first become interested in learning about it?
So for me, it felt like a few different things happened at once. I feel like when you're ready for something, the universe just shows up in a big way and sometimes can give you multiple different avenues to explore something. So I feel like I was ready to sort of take this step and dip my toe into this world of energy work or energy healing. And it showed up for me in a couple different ways. So first of all, Steve and I, my husband and I, have been married for 18 years now. This was back in 2017, so this was quite a few years ago. And we were just kind of in an ebb of our marriage where mm-hmm. things weren't going as great as I wanted them to go. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend that had gone to this marriage workshop, and she's like, you should go to this marriage workshop. It is so awesome. And my husband actually was the one that ended up signing us up for it. So we went. This was a marriage seminar, 3 days long, by a mentor named Kirk Duncan, which I've talked to you about Kirk Duncan before because he was very influential in my life during that time.
I've actually gone to some of his events.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing that I really liked about Kirk Duncan is he doesn't call anything he's doing energy work. So it made it very approachable for me. I didn't feel like I was learning some weird woo-woo thing that I didn't know if I liked it. And at the time I was very much I was very religious and involved in a high demand religion. And I was very nervous. I would have been nervous and scared had it been approached to me like, this is energy work or you're working with energies. That probably would have scared me at the time. Mm-hmm. And so it was just a very subtle way of introducing it, which I really loved. I learned about vision boards from him. I learned about affirmations and the power of my voice. I learned how to do write and burns. Just these very basic self-help ideas. But now looking back, I realize how everything he was teaching me was how to move energy. Mm-hmm. All of those things move energy. And I've heard this definition since then, but I've heard the definition that energy work is just intention plus visualization. So if you want to move energy in some way, you set the intention and then you visualize it happening, right? So learning about things like vision boards and writing things down and visualizing those feelings leaving me as I burned the paper was so empowering. I remember just feeling like, wow, I really can have a different life than what I've had. And my life was amazing up to that point, but there's those nagging things that you want to fix or change. So the thing I really loved about Kirk Duncan is that he has maybe the most abundant mindset of anybody that I've ever encountered. I remember him teaching us these things, and he would say, I want you to go out and teach people about vision boards. And he would say, don't give me credit. I don't care about getting credit. I want you to go and teach this because people need to learn about it. He was truly passionate about helping people improve their lives, and he didn't care about receiving any of the credit. And so that really gave me a level of respect for him because it felt like he's doing this for the right reason, right? And he also had he was part of the same religion as me, which really helped me feel comfortable about it. I'm like, okay, this feels good. And then, like I said, he's very, very subtle about the way that he shares things. So I didn't even realize at the time that I was learning about energy work. During that same time, a good friend of mine who was living in my neighborhood was reading this book called Emotion Code, which is all about energy work. And she texted me or called me, I can't remember, and asked one day, like, hey, I'm learning how to help people release trapped emotions. Can I practice on you? And I was like, sure. I had no idea what she was talking about, but I just liked her. And I think that my heart and mind had already opened up to this world, so I was open to it.
Yeah.
So she came over and she did what's called the Emotion Code. So it's muscle testing. You're basically tapping into somebody else's energy and helping them to find trapped emotions and release trapped emotions. It's something I actually use all the time now.
Yes, you do.
But at the time, it was very new to me, but I saw that was kind of how I got introduced to it. And I saw some really miraculous things happen through that. And then my ADHD brain then hyper-focused on all of these new things that I was learning, and I went down the rabbit hole, and just that's basically where my journey started.
Okay, so in your journey of learning about energy work, were there particular teachers, books? You mentioned a few, but any resources that played a really significant role in shaping how you understood and how to practice?
Yeah, so those, I feel like Kirk and Allison really helped me, introduced me to the energy world, but then the teachers that really took it deep for me, there were a couple of different things, a couple of different people and a couple of different experiences that helped me with that. First of all, I went to a yoga teacher training. So both you and I have been in this like fitness and teaching world for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I liked yoga. I didn't necessarily want to teach it, but I felt very drawn to it. And I wanted to take the yoga teacher training because I was going down the rabbit hole, and I wanted to understand it for my own personal practice on a deeper level. So when I went to my yoga teacher training, I was expecting it to be similar to other trainings that I had taken, where it's just like, hey, here's what you do to teach this format. The place that I took my training was not that way at all. It was a mindfulness-based yoga teacher training, and I felt like a fish out of water. It was very uncomfortable. I actually quit 1 week into it, and then the same day messaged him and back and said, I'll see you tonight. And I showed up. But I went in with certain expectations. Those expectations were not met, and I was like I said, I just didn't know how to handle what I was learning there, and so I quit. And then I think I gave myself permission to step in basically with new expectations.
Yeah.
But I would go there and I would hear people talking about chakras. I had no idea what that was. I had never heard of it before.
Really?
This was in 2017. I mean, if I had, I don't remember.
No connection to it.
No connection to it. I would hear people talk about things like the law of detachment, the law of attraction, the law of this and that. And I would just be like, what are you talking about?
Right.
I feel like I know nothing. There's worlds, right? There's entire worlds of interest that we know nothing about. And it's like when you step into those worlds, you're like, whoa.
Yes.
There's this whole
It's
world
amazing. It
of
really
people
is.
that know all this stuff about this thing. And I was just sitting there going, I feel like the dumbest person in the room. That was totally motivating to me, though. I was like, oh, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about this. So my yoga teacher training really helped with that. And like I said, it was a very different yoga teacher training. So rather than like, okay, here's how you lead a vinyasa flow, it would be like, lay on the ground and notice what your pinky feels like next to your ring finger. And it was very mindfulness based, and I had never done that type of yoga before, and it was mind-blowing to me. So that led me down even deeper into the whole energy work stuff.
Yeah.
Carol Tuttle, she's an author. She was also huge for me in learning about energy. So she also had come from the same religious background as me, which helped me feel safe during that time about it. And she would teach about energy types rather than personality types. So you can there's so many books and different, you've got Enneagram, you've got color typing, you've got all of these different personality typing systems, which I was always interested in and loved. But then Carol Tuttle introduces this energy typing system, and I read a book or took a test or something, and I felt so seen when she described my energy type. I remember actually crying because I was like, oh, these things aren't flaws. This is because of how energy flows through me.
Yes.
So understanding that energy flows through people differently, it helped me understand my spouse better. I mean, she wrote a book called The Child Whisperer, which completely changed my view of parenting and the way that I treated my children, because I realized that they were so different and each of them had a unique way that energy flowed through them. I ended up taking a course from her called Dressing Your Truth, which is this course where it teaches you like, hey, if you're a type 1 energy, here's the colors that match your energy. And here's the types of patterns that match your energy. And the whole idea behind it was that as people approach you, if you're wearing colors and patterns that match your true energy, they'll be able to see who you truly are from the get-go. If I'm wearing something that doesn't match my energy, they're going to have a different idea of how I should be. And then it can create negative experiences between people. So it's just basically, here, show up in the world in the way that makes most sense for you. So she really helped me to like kind of open myself up. Plus, I love fashion and clothes and all that stuff. So I'm like, ooh, dressing your truth? Yeah, let's do it. So that really helped me dip my toe in without feeling like I was doing anything that was super out there. And then her book, Remembering Wholeness, was life-changing. Isn't that the best book?
Yes.
So life-changing for me. I mean, it changed the way that I pray. It changed the way that I understood so many aspects of my life. And then some of my favorite books that I would recommend if any of you are like, hey, I want to learn more about this. First of all, The Secret. That's also that was a Netflix show before it was ever a book. But it just introduces you to the law of attraction and how energy works. The Emotion Code, which I had mentioned earlier, teaches you how to muscle test, teaches you why emotions get trapped in your body, how they get trapped in your body, and it helps you view it from a scientific lens rather than this is weird and how do you just know that I have these feelings, you know? The Power of Now is a beautiful book. The 4 Agreements also was life-changing for me. The Artist's Way taught me a lot about energy, and then Big Magic was another one that came to mind.
Love that book.
Yeah, so those are some of the teachers' books and resources that helped me. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so how has your personal experience with energy work influenced your daily life?
Okay.
And then are there any specific rituals or practices that have become integral in your routine?
Yeah, so I have several that I use every single day now, and they weren't things that it wasn't like a spiritual practice that I created all at once. Like I didn't try to take on everything at once. These are all things that I've learned, and some of them have stuck and some of them haven't. I think of it like drinking out of a drinking fountain. If I'm drinking out of a drinking fountain, half the water's going down the drain, half the water's getting in my mouth, and whatever I need, I'm getting.
Yeah.
So that's how I approach most things. So these are ones that stuck with me. So the first one is morning pages. This is a practice that I learned from The Artist's Way. It's basically a brain dump that you do every morning. It's really good for like processing. For me personally, it helps me move energy big time. If I have like stagnant energy or I'm feeling frustrated about something, just writing about it helps me to express it, and that's just a form of moving energy out of my body that I don't need anymore without dumping it onto another human being by telling them.
Which is huge.
Huge. Yeah. Because energy never goes away.
No, and we need help processing it, but we don't need to dump it on everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, and then I still pray. My beliefs have changed quite a bit, and my faith has transformed. And I pray every single day, but my prayers have changed. So I learned from Carol Tuttle how to pray through the lens of gratitude. So now when I pray, rather than saying, please bless me with this, please bless me with that, I say, thank you for blessing me with this. Thank you for blessing me with that. I remember when I first learned that, kind of feeling like, ooh, this feels like I'm kind of being assuming. And then, there's the scripture that says, ask believing that you'll receive and it will be given unto you. It's the exact same thing as the law of attraction.
Right.
Faith is just the law of attraction.
Yeah.
It really
100%.
is.
Yep.
And so the way I pray has changed because of that. I use a vision board or visualization every single day because I've realized how incredibly powerful and important that is. Saying affirmations, using your voice, right? Or mantras. Like Andrea has taught me mantras that I still use because she's kind of the mantra queen. She knows about all this stuff. But mantras or affirmations, and then daily meditation. And this sounds like a long list, all of this doesn't take me longer than 20 or 30 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not meditating for 25 minutes. I'm meditating for 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm writing in my journal for 10 minutes. Like it's maintenance at this point.
Right.
Because I feel like I've done so much of the deep dive stuff that now it's just keeping me on that vibration through these. And then I do release trapped emotions through Emotion Code daily. I muscle test and release things as they come up. I usually notice if I'm getting triggered by a situation or if I'm feeling negative feelings. I'm like, what is this showing me? And then I will release the trapped emotions through Emotion Code. And then sound healing, of course, which is, we're both sound healers. We come from very different backgrounds, but I use sound healing on myself, in the form of affirmations, mantras, and also healing instruments.
I love that. Okay, so can you describe a transformative or memorable experience that you had while you were participating in energy work?
Yeah, right when I first started learning about, I think this is probably what really solidified, wow, this works. My now 10-year-old daughter was 2 or 3 at the time, and she was so attached to me. She wouldn't even go to her own dad. She was attached to me. She was nervous about everything. And my husband would get home and I'd be like, go ask daddy, because I would need a break. I'm a stay-at-home mom, right, of all these little kids. And she would not allow him to help her. And it was frustrating to me. And anyway, I was talking to my friend, Allison, the one that was kind of introducing me to all of this. And basically we figured out what the root of this was. I personally believe now that our kids are constantly showing us things. They're constantly helping us, especially our pets, our babies, our kids. They're constantly showing us what we need to heal within ourselves. And so for me at that time, I was feeling so frustrated with this lack of having a break, basically, from my darling little child who I love, but I needed a break. And so I was trying to dig into, what is she showing me? What I realized is when I was pregnant with her, I was dealing with a lot of feelings of resentment and anger, and I was sort of healing some of these father wounds during that time. Actually, I won't even say healing. A lot of the father wounds were coming up for me while I was pregnant with her.
Okay.
So basically I passed that energy to her. And she kept showing me, you have these things that you need to heal. You have these father wounds that you need to release and let go of. So through Emotion Code, I was able to let go of the beliefs and the fears and all of the things around this specific belief that I had, which was a father wound. And immediately following that conversation, I'm not kidding, within 10 minutes of that conversation, Scout came into my room and asked me for chocolate milk. And Steve was home. I said, can you please go downstairs and ask Dad? Which is what I would say to her every day. And she would cry and then I would get it for her. I said, can you please go ask Dad? And she literally, these are the words that came out of her mouth. Oh yeah, I love my dad. And then she walked downstairs and asked him. It actually makes me kind of emotional, but I remember that instant being like, how did that just happen?
Wow.
It's been 3 years. That has never happened in 3 years.
Right.
We cleared the energy, and then she immediately, and they are closer than ever. They've been so close. I'm going to put a little disclaimer here, because I think it can be scary when you start to realize the influence that our energy has on our babies when we're pregnant with them and stuff.
Yes.
I always trust that my kids are having the experiences they're meant to have. Yeah. I'm having the experiences that I'm meant to have, and it's not something that should scare you, but it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of my conversion, I guess, to the energy stuff.
Okay, and were there any challenges or any misconceptions that you encountered along the way? And if you did, how did you navigate through them?
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned before, during the time, I felt like I was coming from a lot of this from a little bit of a place of fear. I had grown up where I felt like, and I'm a rule follower and I'm a box checker. So I was like, hey, here's the things that I've been told that I'm allowed to do. Is it okay for me to be doing this? From a spiritual and religious perspective, I was nervous that maybe I was doing something wrong. During that time, it was so funny. I needed permission so badly that I literally called a man. He was our stake patriarch. So these are people that give beautiful blessings. They literally channel blessings from God to basically help guide you through your life. And I just needed permission from a man because that was in my belief system at the time. It's not anymore, but it was at the time. And I literally called him up and I was like, hey, so hi, we've never met before, but here's what I'm doing. What do you think about it?
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me the most beautiful advice. He was like, do you feel like the things you're doing are getting you closer to God? And I was like, yeah, I do. I totally feel closer to God.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, by their fruits they shall be known. Like, if you're doing this and it's getting you closer to God, that's all you need to know. You don't need to overthink it. It was perfect advice.
Answer. Yeah.
I'm so grateful because I know that there's a lot of people that maybe wouldn't have said that.
Right.
So that, and then I had an experience, so that helped me during that time. And then I had an experience where I had found this chiropractor that did body coding. So I was like, this is awesome. I was going and getting adjustments from him. He was helping me release trapped emotions. And then I found out, because it's crazy when I think back on the way that my mind thought about it, but it was so important to me to feel like the people that I was doing energy work, that their beliefs aligned with mine because of that nervousness around it. Mm-hmm. Now I want to learn from every single person. I want you to have a diverse background from me. I want to hear every single thing. But at the time, there was a belief there and there was fear there and there was a nervousness, and that's what made me feel safe to do it at the time. So I found out my chiropractor, I had assumed that he had one belief system and he did not. So I had been getting all this help from him. Well, I totally freaked out. And I completely backed off from energy work for like a year.
Wow.
I was like, I shouldn't be doing this. What am I doing? Like, I just really allowed that fear to just completely overtake what I was doing. And it was very confusing because I had seen these miraculous things happening.
Right.
So I didn't understand. I remember writing in my journal and being like, I'm like, I believe that my words can move energy. I believed all of it, but I just allowed myself to go into that place of fear and basically walked away from it. Mm-hmm. About a year later, I received what I would have called like a prompting. Like, I just kept getting this nagging feeling like, you need to go back to your chiropractor. You need to go back to your chiropractor, because there was something that I was dealing with that I was not able to deal with well. And I just kept receiving that message. Go back to him. And I was like, what? I don't understand this. And I remember journaling, and at that time I would journal. I would talk to God through my journal. So I would write a question and then write, what do I think God would say back to me? And I'd write what I thought God would say back to me. And I remember as I was journaling, just God saying to me, right, quote unquote, through this journal, I never told you to stop going to him. You were just scared, so you chose into that. And I had several experiences after that were spiritual in nature, religious in nature, where I felt like, okay, well, Jesus doesn't teach about fear. Like, he's not saying, be afraid of this, be afraid of that. He's saying, fear not, only believe, be not afraid. Like, how many times is Jesus saying that over and over and over again? So that helped me to start to step out of the fear, which I'm really grateful for. But I had a major fear of being deceived, was what it was.
Yeah, valid.
And that's how I worked through it. And journaling played a huge role in that. And essentially, I ended up just giving myself permission, because I looked back at, okay, has this been more positive or more negative?
Right.
It had been almost 100% positive.
Right.
So I finally let go of the belief that it needed to look a certain way in order to be good. Now I see that all these things are basically the same with just different names. People call them different things, but they're all the same thing, right? And so anyway, so those are some of the challenges that I faced when it came to energy work.
Thank you for sharing those and being open and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone listening, they're brand new to energy work. What advice or insights would you offer them based on your own learning, your own journey, your own experiences?
Okay. Well, first of all, try not to approach energy work from a place of fear, like I just said, or anything really. And then I would always recommend exploring a lot of different modalities, because you just don't know what's going to resonate with you.
That's great advice.
Also, don't rely on someone else to do the healing for you. So if you find a great energy worker, that's awesome. But you want to have your own tools, and it's okay to start small. Like, you don't need to go as far as I went or do all the different modalities. You can, if something piques your interest, I like sound healing, explore that.
Right.
And then see where it takes you, because it probably will take you to more modalities or more learning, basically.
Yeah.
And then if you're interested in offering up energy healing, like for your kids or for other people, for clients, like if that's kind of the road that you're headed down and you want to help others through whatever modality you find, I would just say, remember that you can only meet others as deeply as you've met yourself.
Yep.
So you need to do you first. You need to do the healing for yourself first. You need to go to a sound bath first before you go get sound healing certified, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to do these things for yourself so that you're able to meet somebody where you've already met yourself. However, I will say this, and this is a great analogy that Kirk Duncan taught me a long time ago, but he talked about mentors and how mentors only need to be one single step ahead. So if you're on a staircase, right? If I'm one step ahead of you, that gives me the ability to turn around and hold your hand and get you to my step where I'm at.
The chills, yes.
Right. So it's like, I don't need to be at the top of the staircase to guide others.
Yes.
Right? I can turn around, you're one step, I can grab your hand and we can do it together, right? It's like you only need to just be one step ahead. And I feel like for me, I mean, okay, so the best way to learn is to embody it, like I said, right? Try it, then turn around and teach someone. That is the best way. So that's the whole staircase thing, right?
Yeah.
And I've been participating in energy work since 2015. I've been facilitating energy work since 2019. And now we're offering up facilitator trainings in the form of sound healing certifications and now energy work or facilitator trainings. And it just feels like the natural next step, right?
Yeah.
Like I've gone from that step of being a facilitator to now that step of being a trainer of facilitators, right? Don't you feel like that's kind of a
Absolutely. Yeah.
a natural next step?
Yes.
Yep. So basically that's my journey with energy work.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I love hearing these stories, and everyone has such a unique path. So
Absolutely.
I love hearing where you came from and where you are now. So guys, you can check out all of our stuff over on Instagram. We're 108.meditate, or you can go to our website, which is 108-meditate.com. And we'll put all the show notes in to make sure it's easy for you to connect with us. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.